You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel. We're going to be joined on the phone. We're going to be talking all about cyber attacks and businesses. Firstly, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about yourself firstly.
Sure, my name's Chris Ross and I work for Barracuda Networks, and we're a cybersecurity company, and I'm looking forward to talking a little bit about cybersecurity and how businesses need to be thinking about security, how they protect their networks, and how they make sure they don't fall victim to some of these attacks that we all read about with ransomware and other threats.
Well, I was hoping you could tell us a little bit more about what the research says about businesses in our area.
Sure. So we carried out a survey during the last month, somewhere around 600 businesses in the UK, just to get their views on cybersecurity. And overall, and I'll dive into your region in a moment, but 4 in 5 of UK business decision makers, they get cybersecurity. They understand it's necessary, and so that's really encouraging. I guess some of the perhaps scarier feedback we got from the survey, particularly if we take, for example, Isle of Sheppey, nearly half the businesses, 47%, do not have a plan in place should their company become a victim of a cybersecurity attack. So that's pretty worrying that companies really need to be aware of the dangers, the risks, the threats that are out there, and make sure they've got the right strategy in place to protect their business. In addition to that statistic that I just mentioned, we also found nearly a third of companies, and around the Isle of Sheppey, it's 28% of companies say if they had an attack and they were offline for anywhere up to a day, they would see financial implications to their business. So it's really important that companies understand the damage that could occur to their business if they don't have a plan in place to protect from cyber attacks.
I was going to say, I suppose it's one of those things that, on a normal day-to-day basis, you probably get away with it, and there's lots of other priorities happening, and so it sort of gets pushed to the background, but really, it could have real effects on your business if you do, become prone to one of these cyber attacks.
Absolutely, and I guess encouraging data from the survey was that small businesses, do have cybersecurity at the front of their minds and see it as a necessity. But there's still a proportion that aren't taking proactive steps to secure their business.
So I suppose it's the case they're just not prioritising it enough.
Well, that's true, and the thing is, any kind of cyber attack can be devastating. Ransomware is a hot topic. Hopefully people have seen the news, obviously, over the last few months. And sadly, it's something we think will continue to be a major threat to businesses across the country. And, we're just seeing too many small, medium businesses that are going out of business after a ransomware attack. So, it's really important. And I guess, some of the things we'd say to companies is, first of all, you're never too small to be a target. We see all the big news about the big corporations that are, suffering from attacks. But every single day, small, medium businesses are being attacked, and you're just never too small. So it's really important that you understand the potential for these attacks, how you can secure everything, whether that's your email, whether if you have a website, how you're protecting that website, and even your network. As you're connected to the internet as a business, how you're protecting that network traffic. So really securing everything is probably the best advice, and making sure you're proactively looking at how you're securing your company.
So what are some of the things you can do? Is it a case of having better sort of software as a business? Because I'd imagine probably some small businesses are set up no different to a home user, probably their internet system.
Yeah, I think it varies for the size of business and the kind of IT that you're using. But generally for a small medium business, I think it's important to make sure that you're protecting your email, whether that's through your email provider, or whether you have your own email, whether you've just moved to Office 365, which a lot of businesses have. Make sure that you've got the right solution in place to give you that layer of protection. if you have a network in your company, making sure you've got the right firewalls in place. And if you have a web presence, there are other ways to protect web traffic with web application firewalls. There's a lot of technology out there, and there's a lot of solutions that can really help, and some designed specifically for small, medium businesses. So that's one thing. And the second thing is making sure everybody in your company, if you're a couple of people or 10, 20 people, 50 people, doesn't matter what size, that everybody plays a role in protecting the company from a cyber attack. And likewise, everybody could potentially provide a vulnerability to that company, because things, the attacks come in through email, links are clicked on. So it's really important to make sure everybody in your company understands a little bit about cybersecurity, understands the risks, and that you have some kind of policies in place to protect your company.
Well, I was going to say, often I'd imagine the problem is not always the software and the security measures you take, but the weakness is the actual people, your employees, because they can easily click on a link or open an attachment in an email, and that opens you up to that attack.
Yeah, exactly, and that's really important, and particularly around email. So, there are some solutions. We have a solution to protect your email around Office 365 that will help protect the company and protect users, so that those links are quarantined. We can detect those kind of links so that we can make sure that actually users can't click on the links and that we block them. But still, education is really important. Everyone needs to play a part.
And I suppose data protection, because even a small business can be holding, a lot of personal data about their customers, and they've got to be aware of, protecting that and the regulations around it.
Yeah, I think there's two things there in what you've just said. So first of all, the statistics around how long it takes before a business could potentially go out of business are pretty shocking. Around Isle of Sheppey, 28% said more than a day, and the financial implications would be serious. So making sure you've got backup in place, and more importantly, that you understand how you can recover from your backups, and that you test it occasionally to help make sure that you can get back up and running really quickly. And then, around the regulation, there's some important new regulation coming in May next year, the GDPR, which I'm sure, most people will have at least heard of and heard the acronym. And, it's really concerning. This is a new legal obligation. It's not a technology obligation, but there's technology that can potentially help. But what's important is companies understand their legal obligation around how they're storing data, personal data, and make sure they're aware of all the implications. One thing that we're seeing is the consequences for non-compliance that are being talked about are really at a scale and severity that really hasn't been seen before. And so, it's really important that companies understand the GDPR regulations that come into effect in May 2018.
Was there anything else you'd like to cover or get over to our listeners, or any other useful advice?
Well, no, I think just remembering the 5 key points that you're never too small to be a target. Make sure you've got everything secured. Be proactive in how you think about cybersecurity, and then put policies in place, monitor them, and make sure all your users understand security and how they can play an important role in helping to protect your company. And then finally, make sure you've got the right kind of backup in place and you know how to recover. And that's the best way to make sure you've got a good security strategy in place and can get back up and running should, heaven forbid, your company be affected by a cyber attack.
Do you have any useful information where people can perhaps find out more?
Sure. Actually, if you visit www.barracuda.com, that's our website, we have a range of solutions that can really help act as your IT security platform to help your business put a full cyber security strategy in place.
Well, I'd like to thank you very much for taking the time out to talking to us here at BRFM Bridge Radio on the Daniel Monday Night Community Show.
That's great. Thank you very much.